Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Do As I Do. This was going to be a stream, and I can't stream, but I have time, so I want to work on this. So, yeah, I'm just gonna run you guys through a mod that I like to use a lot when I get the chance. And I wish I could be streaming it, but I'm doing recording, and I'm just gonna upload it to YouTube myself, because, yeah, irritating. So, anyways, we're doing Big Reactors today. So, first of all, time set 0. Yeah, so Big Reactors, here's the Tinker stuff we did last time. Big Reactors, basically, if you're in any kind of bigger mod pack, more often than not, you're going to need power for machines and things. I would say Big Reactors is probably my favorite way to power stuff. It's the easiest, I think, for me, so... first things first, it's all based around yellow right ore, which, if you have the mod installed, it's going to be freaking everywhere. You'll never run out of it. So your best bet is to grab some yellow right ore, throw it into a pulverizer that you've already got powered by something else. Like, you can't really start with this. I mean, you could, but I would say it's easier to just go ahead and start with something smaller, like a regular engine kind of thing from like a reactant dynamo or something from thermal expansion. But yeah, pulverize a bunch of this yellow right ore to get yellorium dust, then take yellorium dust and turn it into yellorium ingots, and then you can make a whole bunch of stuff. But there's some basic stuff you need. Basically, you're making a physical machine reactor kind of thing. For that, you need reactor casings, you need a controller, you need yellorium fuel rods, you need reactor control rods, you're going to need some power taps, you're going to need an access port. You do not need a coolant port. I've actually never messed with this, and like I've mentioned before and quite a bit in my previous video, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I do it. This is the way I do all this stuff. You can also make turbines, by the way. I'm not going to mess with that today. I've never actually gotten it to work very well. So, reactor glass, you're going to want that. You don't need a rednet port. You don't need a computer port. You don't need a redstone port. Graphite block, yeah. Okay, so I would say that's the base of kind of what we need. So first things first, let's go into game mode 0 for survival, just so we can kind of see how to build these things. They're not hard at all to make a reactor casing. It's just iron, which you get plenty of, the yellorium ingots, which you need, and then graphite. And graphite is just, it's just cooked coal. You actually just cook coal, and then you get graphite ingots. It's really easy. That's the easiest way I've found to do it, so... very simple. So there's your reactor casings. This is your main building block. You use this to build almost everything else. Yellorium fuel rods, you're going to need those. Again, it's just graphite, iron, yellorium, controller, a diamond, yellorium, redstone, more reactor casings, power tap. Like, none of these patterns are too crazy. Chest and a piston. Even the reactor glass is just glass in the reactor casings. But basically, I'm going to build a reactor, and I'll explain as I go why it has to be the way it is and stuff. So... unlike a Tinker's Construct Smeltery, you can actually have, like, let's actually do game mode 1. This block under here can actually be, it can be sand. These blocks in the corner don't have to be these. They could be nothing. They could be sand. They could be whatever the hell you want them to be. They're there for cosmetic looks. You literally just need a space inside to be just sealed in. You don't need the outer things. With a reactor, you do need them sealed in all the way to make a complete square. To do that, let's start off with, let's see here. Let's dig it into the ground a bit. Let's do a 5x5, actually. That way we just get a good amount of space there. So we'll make a floor out of this stuff. And again, we're using reactor casing for this. We'll build it up. I mean, we could build it just as tall as this, so it's 5 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and kind of connect those. So I'm trying to whip through this quickly just because it's kind of simple. But yeah, you're just making a square. The requirements for the size are actually kind of up to you. But my suggestion, and the way I always do it, is I always make it an odd number, and because it just looks nicer, because then you have your rods that go through it centered. So that's what I typically do. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and place some of these down here just to make it look a little, you know, a little more even. And I don't know, let's like just fill it in with glass, and then you guys can kind of see what'll happen here. So you see, hello text. Glass, glass, glass. Da, 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 da. I might have to break this into 2 sessions because I have a buddy coming over and he's not going to put up with my crap. So, reactor glass is the only kind of glass you can use for this. Just so you guys know, you cannot use anything else glass-wise. It will not work. Ready, ready, bam. I lied. Didn't work. What did I miss a side? Oh, I didn't miss a side. You need your controller in there, don't you? All right, let's pop that out and pop that in. I'm still missing something. It's supposed to visually change. You probably need these in there. Okay, so basically the whole machine kind of changes the way it looks. But you need a reactor controller on the Tinker's Construct Smeltery. That's kind of your interface thing, so that's equivalent to your Smeltery controller. This is kind of what you do the majority of your stuff in. Now, access port. You're actually going to need 2 access ports. You need one to put fuel into it. It's a nuclear reactor. You need a reactant. You go in one, out the other. So if we can actually right-click, it's set to yellow. You can see the yellow. Yellow's in. You can actually leave they default that way, but you go to the other one and you actually switch it to outlet mode right here. You see it visibly changes to blue. Oopsie. Stop that. Okay, I still can't click on that because we need in the actual fuel rod. So this is where the fuel will go, and then that'll work. So you do is you kind of just put things straight down. This is what the Yellorium fuel rod's for. Now this thing can be as tall as you want it, so you don't have to worry about that. And you just run your Yellorium fuel rods up the center. Of course, if I'm going to be dumb and not fit in the hole. And then in the top, you have to put a reactor control rod. That has to be there. So, boop. Oh, look at that. It just changed. So that's what we were missing, was that interior thing. See, this is red now. So now we can actually right-click. We have an interface and stuff. We'll get into all that in just a second. Now, a couple things. If you make this wider, you can have more stacks of fuel rods easily. No problems there. You can make this as big as you want. The bigger, the more stacks you have, the more fuel you can put in, the more will go at once. The faster, the more energy it's going to output. So bigger is definitely better if you have the space for it. The smallest thing you can make is you can make it like a 3 by 3 by 3. You can make it tiny and just have one fuel rod, Yellorium fuel rod in there, and then the controller above it. That's the tiniest one you can make, and the biggest I've never made one. I mean, the biggest I've made is I made one that was like 20 by 20 by 20. And the power output on something like that is insane, but it works very well. So a couple things now that you've built this. Now remember, we went through kind of just briefly the stuff to build it. Nothing there was too crazy. So this should be something you can throw together pretty easily, even with just traditional smelting and stuff. So this could be your very first power source if you want it to be, if you have enough resources. And the biggest ones you need is the coal and the Yellorium. You're going to need plenty of iron too, glass, redstone, just lots of little mismatched things. But okay, so the fuel for this is Yellorium. You can use, actually, I think it's 2 different kinds of fuel. You can use Yellorium and you can use plutonium. I think you can use cyanite, but I don't remember. Yellorium is what comes in. Cyanite is what comes out. That's the output. Cyanite, then you can run through a cyanite reprocessor and turn it into plutonium and then put it back in here and use it as more fuel. Plutonium and Yellorium are equal as far as how much power they can create. But the thing that's really going to determine the amount of power this thing can output is the way you cool it. Now, you cool it on the interior using physical liquid. You have to like dump buckets and things. That's the way to cool this thing, and it works very well. I've actually never messed with a coolant port. I'm sure that's probably maybe a better way to do it. I don't know. I've never actually tried. But let's grab some Yellorium. Let's actually just grab like a couple stacks here, and we'll stick it in. Now watch the fuel rod. You see it visibly filled up. There we go. That's full. You can check here, and this is 100% full right there. So you can turn it on. Activate reactor. And look at that. Okay, so your core heat is really hot. Like it is, this is too hot. The hotter this is, the less efficient it's going to be, so the less power you'll get. We are making about 750 RF per tick. That's incredibly low, especially for this size of reactor. So remember, these numbers, our core heat is maxing out at over 2,000, and our RF is only 750, so it's very low. What we need to do, and you see there's a big energy buffer here. This is, what is that, like 10 million or something? It's a big energy buffer. You'll fill it up fast if you do this right. Let's turn it off. Cool the darn thing off a little bit, and let's cool it. So we're gonna bust it. No problem though. Can fill all that back in. So you want to actually pour in some buckets of stuff, and yes, I can be in here. I could even be in here when this thing is on, and it wouldn't hurt me, so don't worry about any of that stuff. Also, it doesn't explode. If anyone tells you the reactor itself can explode, they're lying, unless it's like some crazy weird mod that will make that happen, but with just this on the mod packs I've played with, I've never had it blow up. So, sorry, I talk fast. Yeah, the easiest way to cool this thing, water buckets. I mean, just throw water buckets in. You just click them in at the glass, top of the glass level here, just so that it matches with this. You obviously can't put it up here because there's going to be glass there. Also, the glass, you don't need any. You don't have to use glass. You can just use reactor casings instead. I like the glass because you can see. So the thing with the water is the worst coolant you can use. The actual best coolant is like gelid cryothium. That is hard to get a hold of. It's not fun. The actual most manageable thing later on in the game, you'll actually start with probably the liquid redstone, the destabilized redstone, which I'm not going to go over how to make that today, but it's pretty easy to make. You need a couple thermal expansion machines. It's not too tough. But what you'll actually, your end game really, because getting the gelid cryothium is kind of tricky if you aren't near the right biomes and stuff, is actually resonant ender. Let's see if I can actually get the bucket to load in. This thing is so slow because there's so many mods. Resonant ender bucket. Okay, so now keep in mind with resonant ender buckets, if you touch the liquid, you will teleport. So you just need to kind of be careful as you're pouring it in. With this configuration, you need 8 buckets, and you just kind of pour them in like this, and they will flow to the bottom. This is I believe it's the second best cooling thing you can use, only to the gelid cryothium. So there we go, we got all of them in. We'll just seal this back up quickly. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so you see it worked because you had the little animation there. Alright, so remember, this thing capped out. This thing was freaking off the charts with the heat, and the RF per tick was incredibly low. It was like 700 or something, so it was way low. Let's turn it back on. We'll see what we get. Okay, so core heat, it's going up, but it's much slower than before. We were about 2100, and it looks like we're starting to peter off at about 530. Yep, so that is much less. Okay, and look at how much RF per tick. This is kilo RF per tick. So yeah, we are putting out almost 2,000 RF per tick as opposed to 700, so we've over doubled the amount of stuff. So look at how fast this thing is filling. It's insane. So the easiest way to get the energy out of this is you can actually use the red net energy things in this mod pack specifically. Otherwise, the thermal expansion conduits, I think those work really well. The best ones in this mod pack, I believe, are the Ender IO cables, if I remember correctly, just because they can transfer 20,000 RF per tick. I think I'd have to find them. That would help too. Unless I saw it and I just kind of just zipped right past it because I wasn't paying enough attention, which is very possible. Ender quarry stuff. There's all these different things. But yeah, the red net stuff does work, so if that's the easiest thing for you to do at the time, there we go. And Ender energy conduit, the max output is 20,000. There are lower tiers to this. There's like a redstone level tier and an even lower one kind of thing, which don't put out nearly as much. This is the best one. It's really good. That would be my suggestion. How do you get the energy out? So you need to actually put in a little output. We're going to do that. It's going to break it. We'll just fix it right quick. And then we'll go ahead and just stick a conduit thing on there. Where should we have this go out to? Let's grab an energy cell. So let's just do energy cell. And we'll grab one of those quickly. No, this is a quick mod. It's not too crazy. Oh, I don't want that. Let's grab an empty one of these. And we'll just stick it right there, and we'll make sure the back is inputting. It looks like it is. These are all maxed out. Look at how fast that is filling. So right now it's just taking the buffer from here. So this should actually be dropping. Yeah. But once this actually drops, you might get a better idea. But we know what the output is. So it is dumping all of the tick that it can at once. Right now it's off. So let's turn it back on and make sure we don't run out of power. Because it's already dumped all the power into here. So this thing is filling up fast. If anything at this point, yeah, this is going to stay at 0. And this, being that it's not bottlenecking at the cable, because the cable can do 20,000 at a time. So the bottleneck is actually this, because it can only input 10,000 at a time. So the bottleneck is actually, I guess it'd be how fast it can make the energy. So if I made this a lot bigger, we could cap everything out and it'd be kind of ridiculous. But this is a very easy energy source, and Yellorium is everywhere. You will never run out. And then the fact that you can even take the Yellorium, once it turns into the cyanite, reprocess it to the plutonium, and then run that back through, like you get a second shot at it. It's like a 2-to-1 as far as scale goes. Like for every 2 cyanite, which 1 Yellorium is 1 cyanite, for every 2 cyanite you get 1 plutonium, so it does degrade. But once, I think in the plutonium, I think that once that goes through, you get cyanite again. So yeah, I think actually we might, I don't think we've actually run through any stuff. Yeah, you see it's right there. You got a little bit of blue right there. It's set to auto-eject the waste, so the second that there's a full ingot to throw, it's just going to dump it right in here. And then you can take it out and run it through the processor, but that's not something you have to do. You can just hold on to the cyanite, use it for other stuff. Yeah, big reactors right here. There's your plutonium stuff, plutonium ingot, cyanide block. You don't really use cyanite for much other than the reprocessing of it. I believe cyanite reprocessor, there you go. The cyanite reprocessor does need to be cooled, which you can just run like some kind of a fluid duct, depending on the mods you have, with just water to it using an aqueous accumulator or something. It's really easy. But that needs power too. This thing has lots of power. You'll never run out of power again. It's freaking glorious. I have no idea what Ludicrite is. I think it's like making like ludicrous. Like I think it's making fun of that. It might be a creative thing. I'm not sure. It's possible it just never runs out of power. I haven't actually looked it up. I've never needed to. I don't know what this is. I've never messed with it. You get some fluid things. There's turbines too. Turbines can put even more power, but I don't know how to do them. I learned this, and this works great. So it's not going to blow up on me. You can make it exponentially bigger if you want, which is freaking fantastic. Even if we only expanded this out 3 blocks and just did this, oopsie. And we'll just go up here and get this sealed back in. Let's see, grab me some reactor glass. And, actually, yeah, I should put that there. And then I actually have an extra space, so let's put this out another one. I don't know, I'm just kind of putzing with it right now, making it even bigger. Because why not? I can. Now remember, you don't want to make this mistake. You do have to get under here and add these in. Otherwise, it will not work. It does need to be that full block, so. Get that. We don't need that there. Let's go ahead and put this right here. Can actually bust that out and put another thing there. All this glass is going to have to go. And you see it's starting to kind of pour all over the place. But that's okay, that's okay. Make it a bit of a mess, no big deal. But yeah, let's just get this built so you guys can get kind of an idea of what a reactor doing it has triple the fuel rods can actually manage. I'll give you a hint, it's about triple what you would think it can. Actually, I'm gonna have to do this that. Okay, so this is a little trickier because I don't want to teleport, so let's bust out those and like there. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get our rods in like so, and then we'll go ahead and grab another ender bucket. Gimme, 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 gimme. Come on. Come on. Using the search thing in here is a pain. Alright, resonant ender buckets. Don't need another one of those. Then you can just go down here and kind of just fill in wherever you can. Sometimes just depending on the shape, it might be a little bit tougher to do this, but it's not too bad. You know, look at that. I already got that filled in pretty much as good as it's going to go. Then you can go ahead and just grab the reactor glass and fill her back in, like so. And there we go. The thing just kicked back on. So these are fine. They don't need to be moved at all. You got that there. We're going to go ahead and just make sure that's full, and we'll kick it on. Now, the cooling shouldn't be too crazy. It's bigger. There's more energy going through it, so it's going to be a little harder to cool. But this is still very manageable. If we still had it where it would be a legitimate tripling of energy for the core heat. But it's not quite triple. It's almost triple, actually. This might be triple. But yeah, 6,000 RF per tick. Over that. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, nope, you'll never run out of power. These things are pretty damn glorious, I do have to say. And having a nuclear reactors mod inside of these mod packs that are just so heavily dependent on energy and tools and things like this is pretty vital. So I would suggest this highly. There's lots of other means to do it too. This isn't necessarily the easiest one, but this is the one that I like. Again, it's do as I do, and this is what I do. So if you enjoyed, please subscribe, leave a like, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Check you later. Bye.